after you complete S1 and S2, you'll take your two tracing papers, if you have them on top, set them to the side. And S1 should look like this. S2 should look something like this. Now, the back side of S2 is going to be S3. So what you'll do is you'll label the back side of S2, you'll label this S3. Now, my back side, I use color markers. As I use color markers, it bled through to the back side of S3. If that's what happened to you, what you'll do is you can get cut a separate sheet of paper out, place it over S3. You can obviously use a glue stick or tape to adhere it to actual S3, and then use this paper attachment to draw the right foot in the lateral view and then label. So what you'll do is you'll draw the right foot in the lateral view and then label. You'll take this diagram that you use on the tracing paper, and this is considered the lateral view. You should have labeled all three diagrams: lateral view, medial view, and this is superior view. Okay, so you should have labeled it superior view as well. So what you'll do is you'll use obviously S1, to use the lateral view to draw and label whatever the lateral view is on S1, put that on S3. So it should look like this. Okay? So if it didn't bleed through, then you obviously don't need to use a separate sheet of paper. You can just draw on it on S3. Okay, so what you're gonna do for the next portion of S3, which is the middle. Okay, so what you're gonna do for the next part of S3, which is the middle portion, is you're going to take your 7 sheets of paper that I requested you cut up. Okay, so you take your 7 sheets. You're going to utilize either S1, most likely it's probably better to utilize S1, to write down the names of the bones on the 7 sheets on your left. So I'll take my drawings and I will start to put the names of the bones on each sheet. So I'll just write talus on here, calcaneus, cuboid, cuneiform number 1, or we can also call this medial cuneiform, cuneiform number 2, or middle cuneiform, and then cuneiform number 3, or lateral cuneiform, and this one is navicular. So you're going to use these 7 sheets with the names of the bones, and you're going to create what's considered a mnemonic. Okay, and the mnemonic is a saying that helps you memorize the names of the bones. So again, create a mnemonic for memorization. Each bone has a word associated with it, which helps contribute to the mnemonic. And then we write the word association here. So you're not going to do this yet. You're actually going to create the mnemonic with the sheets first. So what you're going to do, I'll do it on my own from scratch in terms of saying. So I would use talus. Okay, so I would say, okay, and any word that comes up. So there's a lot of C's. So the neighbor, right? So I would flip it. The neighbor, close, Oh, the neighbor called. So the neighbor called, C-A-L, Cupid. The neighbor called Cupid. Came. The neighbor called Cupid. I can also use middle for cuneiform, medial for cuneiform, or lateral for lateral cuneiform. The neighbor called the neighbor, or I could say the neighbor called the neighbor called me, or me, right? So I can switch to sheets. So the neighbor called me. What else? The neighbor called me, which would be medial cuneiform. Talus, neighbor called me, medial cuneiform. The neighbor called me L. Can I use L? The neighbor called me. And then I'm like, I don't like that, right? So I can't think of a good word, so let me start over. Let me use something else. So I may not like that one, so I may use all 7 sheets to create a different thought process in different order of the bones. And then once I create that, okay, once I create that saying, all right, then what I would do is I would write the saying to my right. Okay, here. So I would write whatever, we can start with before, let's say I said the neighbor, right? So it would be Talus and then the. Okay, and then the neighbor, this would be neighbor. And then I would continue to finish my saying on the right. Okay, then what I would do is I would take my sheet, which is my blank sheet here. I'll use this one. Okay, I would take my blank sheet here, and then I would write exactly the order in which the tarsal bones were listed on my sheet. So for example, the neighbor, right? So then I would write talus here, talus, navicular, and then any other sequence, the word sequence, say if it was called, I would put calcaneus, me, cuneiform. So I would write these words here. I will write my associated saying here. So talus would be the, so the, navicular would be neighbor, and then every other saying after that, right? Every other word that associates with this particular tarsal bone. So calcaneus, I would put, I don't know, called, and then every single word after that that associates with your saying. Okay, so you associate, you word match. You match the bone with the word. Then what you're gonna do is you can either write the saying here, okay? So you can either write the saying here, so write your complete mnemonic here, capitalize, bold, color the first letter of each word you use. So the, okay, so I'm gonna decide to color it. Okay, so let's color it. So I'll just say the, and I'll use the color orange. Or I also could use the words that I cut out, right? So you can cut the sheets a little bit close, a little bit smaller to fit on the line, or you can copy the words from here to there, and then it would be, the neighbor, and then finish the saying on this line so you know what that saying is. Then what you're going to accomplish is you're going to, so name all the bones covered in class up to this point in the semester here. Okay, so you would put cuboid, write them in different order, right? Different cuboid, cuneiform, number 1, navicular, calcaneus. There's 14 phalanges, right? So phalanges. And then metatarsal. Metatarsals, we'll just keep it simple. Metatarsals, numbers 1 through 5. Okay, and then you have the, what else are we missing? Cuneiform number 2. And cuneiform number 3. Okay, so I think that cuboid, navicular, cuneiform number, that's 1, 2, 3, and we're missing the talus. And the talus, right? So you have phalanges, metatarsals number 1 through 5, cuneiforms 2, number 3, calcaneus, cuneiform number 1. So you have metatarsals number 1 through 5. We'll speak about how to differentiate the phalanges as well. So phalanges are not number 1 through 5. There's actually some specific ways to identify the phalanges. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, so that would be you completing S3 today.